Hi YouTube. I haven't made a video in quite a while, but we just had the US launch strikes on Venezuela, kill a bunch of who knows how many people, and kidnap the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife, I guess, and brought them back to the United States to face justice. Justice. I mean, come on, then. I don't know. There's so many things to make videos about these days, and I've let so many of them slip that I have a lot of stuff in my mind, and I got to try to wrangle it all in to make some kind of a coherent message out of it. Basically, what we're finding out now, at least what I'm finding out as a guy who's past the age of 50, is that pretty much all the conspiracy theories that back in my 30s I used to poo-poo and say, oh, come on, you people, back when the people said when we were going into Iraq for that whole mess over there and to find weapons of mass destruction, right? And we had all these old hippies that were out protesting, saying this is about regime change, this is about stealing, getting their oil for Western companies and so forth. It turns out it's pretty much all true. I mean, I could say we are the bad guys, and we are the bad guys, but everybody's the bad guys. I mean, there's no good guys, really, almost. There's very few good guys. It's just all bad guys. I think John Mearsheimer's view of the world geopolitics as being, he calls the realist school of geopolitics, where basically great powers they don't have any morality. They don't have there's no rights and wrongs with them. It's just you use raw power to get your way all the time. And you can say that's right or wrong. I mean, definitely it goes against what we preach. And this is the problem for me as an American. I can understand the realist school. I can understand people saying, okay, well, if we don't do it, China's going to do it, or Russia's going to do it. Somebody's going to go into that vacuum, so we better do it, right? So it's us, so that we win, whatever that means, instead of them. So we get more power, influence, our system takes over more. But at the end of the day, you just have to say, what's the purpose of all this? I mean, we claim we were spreading democracy, right? We stand for, freedom, America, apple pie, Chevrolet, hot dogs, whatever. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. The American people continue to be poor, get poorer on a real basis as inflation goes up and our incomes don't keep pace. We can't afford health care. I just had to change my plan back to a worse plan because my premiums went up from $600 to $900 a month. And I have the worst plan. It was north of $900. So I called them and said, no, get rid of this plan. I'm going to go something else. We can't even, we're always talking about, America's the richest country on earth. We can't even afford health care. We live paycheck to paycheck. We have credit card debt out the wazoo. We can't afford insurance and all this other stuff. We can barely afford a place to live. Homelessness is off the charts. I mean, is this what the thing is? We have to go and invade. We have to back, Ukraine against Russia, and do all these sort of revolutions, try to take over these places. We have to invade Iraq. We have to invade Venezuela now, and we had to change their government and install a puppet regime, which is what it is. We've got a Zionist-friendly puppet regime that's going to go into Venezuela now. Yeah, she stands with Israel. These people make me fucking sick. I'm sorry. Excuse my French, but they make me sick. It's all BS. It's all, our greatest ally, Israel. Israel is our puppet regime. Does the dog wag the tail? I mean, dirty Israeli money comes in and buys up all our politicians, but I still think it's the other way around. Israel is a U.S. puppet regime. Israel is the vessel that the United States uses when it needs to basically commit war crimes with plausible deniability. So we don't do it. We send our lackeys in, and our lackeys commit the war crimes, okay? I told you I was going to get off track here. There's a lot of stuff going on, but it's all related. You see, it's all just part of the U.S. empire is still in this battle for domination, and the Soviet Union ended, and then it's like, oh, we got to keep dominating. We got to keep, invading and finding wars to fight so we can keep expanding our power. So we need to make new boogeymen. So now it's narco traffickers. Oh my God, Nicolas Maduro. Nicolas Maduro rigged an election, and he also was a narco trafficker. Well, okay. Nicolas Maduro, what's really going on here? What's really going on here is the U.S. doesn't, Venezuela got sick of U.S. interference in South America, along with countries like Cuba and these other countries. So the reason that they went socialist is to get out, to fight U.S. imperialism, okay? That was them fighting against our incessant need to basically invade by subterfuge or other means and take over other countries, okay? And they have that right. They can determine for themselves, but we don't accept that. So we put sanctions on them, okay? They nationalize the oil industry, right? So our companies, our corporations, our business interests got kicked out of places like Cuba and Venezuela and stuff, and they took over, the state took over those, the oil industries and the other industries. And so we put sanctions on them. Okay, we sanction them so that they can't sell their oil. And then we blame them. We say, oh, well, they turned to narco trafficking. They wouldn't be... Okay, they do what they have to do to get the money to run their society. And we try to starve them out by making it impossible for them to do that. And by the way, do we really need to go back to talking about Iran-Contra and how the U.S. and the CIA green-lighted narco traffickers to ship cocaine to the United States, okay, to fund the Contra rebels and this other stuff? We are up to here in narco trafficking and green-lighting narco trafficking via the CIA and all of our dirty wars that we fight around the world. And what's it all about? Again, I'm going off on a million topics, but in the end, the reason you go in off in a million directions is because it's all related. It's all the same thing. It's all the U.S. empire trying to take over the whole world. And anybody who doesn't go along with it, or anybody who chooses a different system, we don't accept that. And we use any means. We frame mischief by decree. We come up with legal fig leaves. These people were involved in illegal, they were fentanyl. They were trafficking fentanyl and cocaine and whatever. Listen, this is BS. The war on drugs. Look, I don't support drugs. Drugs are terrible. Don't do drugs. That's if there's one message I want to get out there to America and the world is don't do drugs, okay? But that's not what any of this is about, okay? We utilize drug money to fund dirty operations and illegal operations to overthrow countries that we don't like, to do regime change. We use drug money because it's off the books, right? The CIA has been involved in this. It's been documented a million times. And they may not necessarily do it themselves, but they give the green light. Go back and look what happened with Iran-Contra. The people who were flying the drugs, the cocaine, there was a pilot interviewed. You can go back and read it in the Washington Post, who was flying the cocaine into the United States checked with his CIA handlers and said, is it okay for us to take this money? Because this money that's going to fund the Contra rebels in Nicaragua back during the Reagan administration, this money is coming from drugs. It's from cocaine sales in the United States. And the CIA said, yes. They said, that's great. Go ahead, use it. That's fine. So, was Nicolas Maduro actually running the drugs? Was Nicolas Maduro getting on a plane and flying the drugs? Or was he like overseeing that? I highly doubt it. Okay? We always have... Nicolas Maduro is doing the same thing that we do. You have other people do the dirty work. But why did Nicolas Maduro why did he need the money from drugs? Because we cut them off, because we made it impossible for them to sell their oil legally. We go around, we even recently, boarded one of their tankers and stole the oil. Okay, we do all this stuff, and we do the same thing with Iran, and we do the same thing with Russia. It's all BS. It's all legal fig leaves, okay? If you want to say, well, these people are involved in bad things, okay, but the point is that the United States is involved in bad things. My point is that we are no better. We are not morally superior to Iran. We are not morally superior to Venezuela. We are not morally superior to Cuba. Now, I will grant you, I would much rather live in a place where we have freedom of speech and where we can, talk against the government than live in a place where that's against the law. But again, even in the United States, you're allowed to speak, you're allowed to talk publicly against it, but we don't have any power to do anything about it. We try to vote for somebody like Donald Trump because Donald Trump says, I'm not going to fight these foreign wars. I'm going to drain the swamp and I'm going to do something different. Okay, we have the freedom of speech to speak out against this, but we don't. But when we vote for people, these people get in power and they just, Donald Trump is the swamp. Donald Trump went from being, I'm going to drain the swamp, to I'm the king of the swamp and I'm going to do, I'm going to meet with Bibi Netanyahu every weekend and figure out how we can, what's coming next. What's coming next is regime change war in Iran. And all of this is going to what? Even if it's successful, it's putting us trillions and trillions and trillions. The national debt is going up. So I'm not, set aside the moral issues, which are huge. I mean, think of all the people we are murdering and killing, all the children we're maiming, we're supporting genocide in Gaza through this illegal regime in Israel, in which Netanyahu is still an indicted war criminal for war crimes by the International Criminal Court. Look it up. And the whole world is against us. The United Nations votes against us all the time. And it's just us and Israel and our few closest allies that are in the same boat that we are, and they basically have to do whatever we say. Look at what it is. We are no better. We are not better than the commies, okay? We are not any better than any of them. We have no moral superiority, and all the legal arguments that we use against them to support things like regime change in Iraq, regime change now in Venezuela, just like all these other regime changes we've done over the years, regime change in Iran. Why do you think, Iran, the whole reason Iran is our enemy now is because they rose up against our puppet, the Shah, and got rid of him way back in the 70s or whenever it was. So we aren't any better. And if nothing else, Americans need to wake up and realize what's going on here. Basically, you are asked to be poor and to not have health care and to not have an affordable, not being able to afford the basic things in life, in order that the wealthy, rich people who run this country can continue their march of domination to try to conquer the whole world and make the U.S. empire a global empire with, power over everybody, or at least to be able to flout anybody else. Now they're worried about the Chinese boogeyman, okay? And I'm not a fan of communism. I'm not a fan of the regime over there. But again, we are no better. And China basically does what it does. In the process of doing what it's done, it has, at least raised the standard of living for the Chinese. Now, okay, I guess the U.S., you could say the same thing about the U.S. So it's not really an argument. And I'm not going to defend the Chinese. I'm not for Chinese hegemony. But I am for the United States to stop trying to conquer the rest of the world. Stop thinking that the ends justifies the means, that in order to quote-unquote bring democracy, everybody, we're going to what? Commit war crimes, commit ethnic cleansing, commit genocide, bomb and kill and cause all this mayhem everywhere, and say, oh, because we're bringing democracy. We are not bringing democracy. We are not bringing freedom. We get rid of democracy. We get rid of freedom and democracy anytime democracies in other countries choose regimes that don't go along with our plan for world domination. Okay? Hamas was voted in Gaza. Did we accept that? No. Okay? Socialism was voted in they had revolution in Cuba. Socialism was voted in Venezuela and all these places, and we just don't accept it. We have to have things our way. And we use all these legal fig leaves, and we say, oh, but freedom and democracy, and it's bullshit, okay? If you want to support this, okay, I'm not going to support this. If you want to support this, go ahead and support it, but please do not say it's about bringing freedom and democracy to these places. No, it's about killing everybody in this world that we have to in order to get our way, and for the United States to have power to either rule directly or to have regimes that agree with us, or to install puppet regimes that force those countries to cooperate with the U.S., even if they're the people who live in those countries are vehemently against the United States. Okay? That's what this is about. And if you're okay with that, if you're morally okay with that, then, go ahead and support this. I'm not morally okay with that. That's certainly not what we preach. That's not, if we're going to do that, we can just throw out everything that America claims, all American values, just throw them in the trash. It's all bull. It's all lies. Everything that we've claimed over the years, every war we've fought where we claimed we were going in to get the bad guys, okay, we are no better than the bad guys. And in a lot of cases, we are the bad guys. We overthrow many times what the people in those countries want. And if we really cared about democracy, if it was really about, the majority of people having their way, then we would be supporting those countries and their governments, not fighting them, not overthrowing them. So it's all BS, okay? We are no better. We're really no better even than the Nazis at this point. We have funded and supported genocide and ethnic cleansing in Gaza and in Israel for 80 plus years. Okay? Israel, first of all, Israel is run by Ashkenazi Jews who are genetic Europeans. They're not even, this is the funny thing is, the Jews in Israel and the Jews, these rich Zionist Jews who basically run the United States, who own all our media companies, who bribe all of our politicians, and there's tons of them on the board of every freaking major corporation, all the tech companies, okay? These people are all Ashkenazis. And what is an Ashkenazi Jew? An Ashkenazi Jew is a genetic European person, a person who's genetically white Europeans, okay, who are religiously Jews, if they even are religious. I mean, a lot of them are atheists, okay? Israel was founded as a secular state. It was founded by a bunch of atheist Ashkenazis from places like Ukraine, Russia, and the United States and Europe, okay? So, and if you speak out against it, they, oh, you're an anti-Semite. These people are not even Semites. They're not even ethnic Jews. They're not Jews. They're white people. All right? The best scientific study on this was, go back to a journal, scientific peer-reviewed journal called Cell. That's C-E-L-L. Look up a study done in 2022 by a doctor, a Jewish expert in genetic research from Harvard by the name of, I believe, David Reich is his name. His last name is definitely Reich. And he's an expert in this field. And they did a study on 14th century Ashkenazi Jews who were discovered in cemeteries over in Germany. And they got the DNA out of there, and they studied them, and they in the course of doing this study, they did a study basically on the whole genetic history of Ashkenazi Jews, who they are genetically, where they came from, and so forth. And here's basically what they found. Ashkenazi Jews are, according to the most plausible reconstruction that they were able to, do, and it's an imperfect science, but according to the DNA evidence, they came up with a plausible genetic admixture that Ashkenazi Jews are approximately, let's see, it was, what was it? 19% Middle Eastern, 16% Eastern European, which gives you what? Be 46. It was like a... And anyways, the rest of it was, I think it was 60-something percent, 61% Southern Italian. So Ashkenazis are more, they're like, you combine the Italian and the Eastern European component, they're like 81% European and 19% possibly 19% Levantine, or from the Levant, from Palestine, okay, or from the Middle East. I mean, they can't say, is it from Palestine or something? And here's the kicker. It's an inexact science. So if you look in the footnotes, they run different things. They say it could be more Levantine or less Levantine, depending on which model they use. But almost any model they use, it ends up being less than 50%. I think the top percentage of possible, Levantine DNA that Ashkenazi Jews might have was like 40-something percent, maybe like 45%. But these people are definitely at least half European, and they're probably like 80% European. And here's the kicker: if you look in the footnotes, you read the footnotes in that 2022 study by a Jew, mind you, an Ashkenazi Jew who's an expert in this, Dr. Reich from Harvard. In the supplemental material, they admit that it's also possible that Ashkenazi Jews may have zero Levantine DNA. They said because of changing populations, that it's possible that 100% of their DNA came from a South Italian population back at the time of, say, the turn of basically around the time of Christ and the Jews of that day. Because we have all these skeletons and things from that time. They've been able to test that DNA. And these people, so in other words, the populations shift around, and the upshot is that they might not even be any Jewish at all. They might be 100% European for all we know. But probably, the bulk of the evidence is that they're about, say, 20%. 20% Levantine or ethnic, let's call it ethnic Jew. They're about 20% ethnic Jew and 80% ethnic European. And so they're going to anti-Semitism. If you say something, if you're against Israel, if you're an anti-Zionist, you are an anti-Semite. These people are not even Semites. They're not even ethnic Jews. They are pretenders. Okay? They are white genetic Europeans. And Israel is a white European colony that is committing ethnic cleansing and genocide in Palestine. Now, if you support that, then go ahead and support this regime. Go ahead and support Trump and support the forever wars and say, hey, you know what? I'm fine with being poor and not having health care so that we can have European colonialism and mass murder Palestinians who, incidentally, are the closest related people to the biblical Jews and the biblical Jesus. Yeah, let's have white Europeans, let's support them mass murdering Palestinians who are the closest living relatives to Jesus and the apostles and the first century Christians. If you support that, then fine, you can support this regime. I don't. And I oppose this, and I believe in the ideals which Americans claim to espouse, American values. And our whole system is corrupt. You know, and even posting this on YouTube, the YouTube algorithms. Again, YouTube is another owned by Google. Who owns Google? Who runs all the tech companies, right? It's all monopolies. Who owns Google? Who owns Facebook? Who owns Elon Musk now running X? Okay, great. We have some freedom there, but and it's all relative. These people showed their true colors during COVID. And COVID, what did they do? They cracked down on free speech. They censored people left and right. They shut down accounts. You think they won't do it again? The idea is control the airwaves, control all the media, and yeah, sure, let them have freedom of speech. They speak out. But if they start getting any traction, if their message starts getting out there and people start believing it and it starts changing public opinion, then what happens? Look at what happened to TikTok. All of a sudden, our Congress and president decided, we have to take over TikTok. And if you read the Wall Street Journal, why did they do that? Why did they take over TikTok? Because the Jewish lobby in the United States was very worried. They said, we are losing support. Young people in America, young voters in America are turning against Israel. And what did they blame? They said it was TikTok videos, and it was other social media videos that were changing the opinion of youths in America. And so they said, we have to put a stop to that. So, so Congress makes a law. Oh, we're going to take over TikTok. We're going to force the sale of TikTok. And who did they put in charge of TikTok now? Larry Ellison, big, huge, the number one donor to the IDF in Israel. Okay? It's not conspiracies, people. It's real. The quote-unquote conspiracy theories are real. And we're the bad guys. So on that happy note, enjoy the rest of your day. Now hold on, I'm not going to stop there. Let me tie this into gold. Why gold? Now, you go back and you look at my earlier videos and stuff, and I always talked about gold. Okay, now, eventually they're going to probably outlaw private ownership of gold again, but we're a long way from there now. And at this point, one of the few ways that you can fight against this whole thing, get out of dollars, buy silver and gold, and stack it. Because it's one of the few ways that you have to escape. They're going to continue doing what they're doing, and they're going to fund it with massive debt, which leads to massive inflation. The dollars in your wallet are going to be worth less and less. It's going to be harder and harder to afford to keep a decent style of living. We're going to become more and more third world. And the one way that you have to prepare for that now, that you can at least fight it now, is to personally do what all the central banks are doing, and that's buy gold. So, it's all related. And in the end, will we win? Will American voters be able to fight back in some way and reclaim control of this country? I don't really know. I mean, you'd like to think that, eventually, but I really don't know. I mean, at this point, the way things are going, I used to think that people like Edward Snowden, I used to think that guy was a traitor. Man, was I wrong about Snowden. Snowden knew too much, and that's why he went to Russia. I used to say, well, why didn't he stay here and try to fix the things? I was totally, like most of us, I was totally clueless. We're the bad guys, okay? Our system is corrupt. There was no staying here and fixing the system. All of our politicians are taking AIPAC bribes. They're all on the payroll, except for a few, like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie, and Ro Khanna and guys like that. There's very few that haven't been captured and haven't been made to cooperate with this system. So, I have to be honest with you. Hope springs eternal, but I'm not really an optimist about it. Realistically, I'm kind of pessimistic about the future of America, because it seems like we're kind of going that route, like the Roman, how it went from the Roman Republic to the Roman Empire. And it's just too much concentration of power in the hands of the elite and the hands of the swamp. Too many people benefit from it, and those people have all the power, and they just continue to use all their bribed politicians to give themselves more and more power and more control. So, stack silver, stack gold, keep your heads down and your guns loaded, and like I always say, hope for the best and prepare for the worst, because that's probably what's coming.